actually remembered to take it out of the freezer the night before. You gotta thaw it overnight. Yeah, okay, so Pastry Pride. I got it at my Smart and Final. It's next to the Cool Whip in the freezer section, which should kind of tell you a little bit of how this stuff tastes. Thank you for my coffee. So we're just gonna kind of run a bunch of tests today on this whipped cream alternative. I think it could solve a lot of problems because it's non-dairy, meaning you can leave it out. And apparently you can pipe this stuff really well and it, you know, will give you a really smooth finish. One of the main perks of using this stuff is that you can make a cake ahead of time, because with whipped cream cakes, you kind of want to eat them within the same day of making them. This stuff you can make ahead of time. So that's exactly what we're gonna do because I need the strawberry cake for tomorrow. I thawed this in the fridge overnight, and this is 1 cup added to a mixing bowl with the whisk attachment. The carton states that it expands by 4 times, so 1 cup will give you 4 cups of whipped cream, and it took about 3 minutes to get the consistency that looked like this. And the first thing I wanted to test was the piping, so I added some gel food coloring and then placed the cream in some piping bags. And this is a Wilton 1M tip, and we're just checking for if the cream can hold the detail. Piping with real whipped cream can be challenging. Number 1, you have to get the right consistency, and number 2, often you have to add stabilizers for it to hold its shape over time. So with this stuff, as far as I can tell, you can't over whip it. You can only under whip it, which should be a little bit obvious because the cream will be a little bit runny. And as far as piping goes, relatively straightforward, nice design and detail even on the hydrangeas. Okay, the second thing we're going to test is the structure and stability of this stuff. Can it handle a heavier cake? So I have some 6-inch rounds here, and we're going to fill it just with this whipped cream and see if it can hold the weight of all the layers. So I'm going to fill the cake only with whipped cream. I would really love to put some strawberries in here because I love strawberry cream cakes, but I wanted to just see if the whipped cream can hold the cake up on its own. And I'm using about 1.5 cups in between each layer, spreading it around, and then I'm going to finish the crumb coat, which is going to go all the way around the entire surface of the cake. Then I'm going to place it in the fridge for about 30 minutes. It's not going to get firm like a buttercream cake, but it does help kind of, you know, firm up the whipped cream and just kind of keep it cool. And do the final top coat, which is just going to go on the top first, flattened, and then the excess is going to be spread all around the sides, and then I'll use a bench scraper to smooth it out. After that, we'll finish off the top by pulling in the frosting towards the center to make it nice and even, and then I'm going to place this in the fridge overnight. Alright, I always like to do the final decorations on the day of serving. You can definitely do this the day beforehand, but what I did was take a Wilton 2D tip this time. It creates more of kind of a ruffly effect than the 1M, and we're just going to pipe a swirl around the perimeter. Now, at any point, if you need to stop, say if your hand is tired or you run out of whipped cream, it's good to stop at the downward motion because then you can just continue to pipe the swirls on top of it to finish the design. And to finish off the top of the cake, I'm just going to pile a bunch of those strawberries and some fresh flowers from my garden on top. And that is my number 1 secret for cake decorating if you're not a cake decorator. I find that fruit and edible fresh flowers are really easy to just throw on top of the cake, and it actually looks really nice. So this was in the refrigerator from yesterday, and it's definitely still kind of, I'm still feeling it. It's definitely soft. So we're just gonna cut right into this. The cake is still moist from yesterday, which means that it did a really good job of trapping it in, even though I didn't even cover this in the refrigerator from yesterday. Kind of wish I had put strawberries in between the cake layers. That's basically the only thing, but I do really enjoy the taste. It's really light. It highlights the cake more than the frosting. So if you are not a frosting person, this is a great substitute for whipped cream if you don't want to use whipped cream in your cakes. As far as piping, let's see if it focuses. We got some good detail here. The only thing is that I left these cupcakes out just because I wanted to see what would happen to this Pastry Pride when it's left out, and it gets this kind of like styrofoam like texture. It's still completely edible, although I highly suggest that If you do make this kind of frosting ahead of time, to stick it in the fridge in a covered container. It did lose quite a bit of moisture and it's kind of hard. So still edible though. A little bit about.
Mommy, wait, don't go outside.
I'm not allowed to go outside?